I stood in Big Mama's kitchen at our Detroit soul food restaurant, grease still under my nails from flipping catfish all morning, when Mama announced DeAndre would be CEO. "Your brother got that vision, baby." My voice cracked. "Mama, I turned this place around. We was 2 weeks from closing." DeAndre strolled in, fresh fade gleaming, smirking while eating my peach cobbler. Then he kissed his teeth and said, "Sis, somebody gotta run the fryers while I handle real business." I felt my ancestors screaming. The kitchen still smelled like Fabuloso from my 4:30 a.m. cleaning session, mixed with the lingering scent of hot sauce and cornbread. I'd been back in Detroit for 9 months, having walked away from my executive chef position in Manhattan where I was pulling in 6 figures. Big Mama Crawford's kitchen had been dying, equipment from 1973, roaches in the pantry, and reviews calling us a health hazard. Mama had called me sobbing, saying they had 17 days before the bank foreclosed. I didn't hesitate. I liquidated my retirement account, sold my Brooklyn condo, and came home. I spent 16-hour days scrubbing, negotiating with suppliers, retraining the staff, and modernizing Big Mama's sacred recipes without losing their soul. The dining room went from looking like someone's dusty basement to a space that Essence magazine featured. Our bookings tripled. We finally turned a profit last month. But none of that mattered apparently because DeAndre, who'd been fired from 3 jobs in 4 years and spent the last 9 months finding himself in Miami, was now my boss. Mama stood there in her Sunday best even though it was Tuesday, gold cross catching the light, looking at me like I was the unreasonable one. "Simone, baby, you too focused on the small stuff. DeAndre got that big picture energy we need." DeAndre leaned against the industrial sink I'd personally installed, still chewing my dessert, and had the nerve to wink at me. "Don't trip, Simmy. We still gon' need you on that line. You make a mean mac and cheese." I looked at my hands, these hands that had earned a starred review at a Manhattan restaurant, that had built everything here from nothing, and I had to choose. Stay and watch him destroy what I'd rebuilt, or walk away from Big Mama's legacy entirely. Then Miss Sarah, our 68-year-old head server who'd worked here for 43 years, walked in with tears streaming down her mahogany face. "They letting me go, Simmy. DeAndre say I'm too slow for his new vision." That's when I knew my choice was already made. I tried to make it work for 11 weeks. I swallowed my pride, showed up at 5:30 every morning, and ran that kitchen while DeAndre played CEO in the office Big Mama gave him. The same office where I used to do the books after my shifts. He started making changes immediately. First, he cut our portion sizes to maximize profit margins, ignoring my explanation that our generous plates were why customers came back. Then he fired 3 experienced line cooks and replaced them with his boys from the neighborhood, who didn't know the difference between a roux and a reduction. Reviews started dropping. "Not what it used to be," one said. "Skimpy portions and amateur cooking," said another. I brought the feedback to DeAndre, printouts in hand, voice calm and professional. He glanced at them and laughed. "Sis, you worrying too much. It's just haters." But I knew what haters looked like, and this wasn't it. This was our reputation crumbling. When I tried talking to Mama, she'd pat my hand and say, "Give your brother time, baby. He finding his rhythm." Meanwhile, DeAndre was hosting late-night parties in the restaurant with his friends, leaving the dining room trashed for me to clean before opening. He started doing interviews with local food blogs, taking credit for turning the restaurant around with his innovative approach, never once mentioning my name. The staff who'd worked with me through the renovation started quitting. First the sous chef, then 2 servers, then our prep cook. Each one pulled me aside before leaving, whispering the same thing. "I can't work under him, Simmy. I'm sorry." The breaking point came on a Thursday afternoon in late September. I walked in to find DeAndre in the kitchen with Mama, and Miss Sarah's apron was folded on the counter. "What's this?" I asked, though my stomach already knew. Mama wouldn't look at me. DeAndre crossed his arms, that same smirk playing on his lips. "Had to make a tough business decision. Sarah's been here forever, but she's dead weight. We need younger energy." My vision went white. Miss Sarah had taught me how to properly set a table when I was 8 years old. She'd worked double shifts when Big Mama had her stroke. She'd stayed loyal when other places offered her more money. "You can't do this," I said, my voice shaking. She's family. DeAndre stepped closer. Nah, Simi. Family is blood. This is business. Maybe if you understood that, Mama would have made you CEO. That night, I sat in my rental apartment eating cold takeout and realized I'd spent 11 weeks watching everything I'd built fall apart, because I was afraid of being the angry sister who couldn't support her brother. The restaurant's bank account was draining again. The debt I'd cleared was creeping back. And I was complicit, standing there in my chef's coat, enabling his destruction by staying silent. I was driving through Corktown the next morning, taking the long route to clear my head before my shift, when I saw it, a for lease sign hanging on a beautiful brick building with huge windows. I knew this place. The Paradise Lounge, a legendary black-owned jazz club that had closed in '97. My phone was in my hand before I'd even parked. The landlord answered on the third ring. By noon I toured the space. By 6 p.m., I'd called every investor contact I'd made in New York. By midnight, I had secured enough capital to sign a lease and start renovations. I named it Simi's Table. For 3 weeks I lived a double life. I'd work the morning shift at Big Mama's, then spend afternoons and evenings at my new spot, designing the menu, interviewing staff, overseeing construction. I didn't tell Mama or DeAndre. I didn't owe them an explanation. The staff I trusted most, the ones who'd already quit Big Mama's kitchen, I called personally. Every single one said yes. Miss Sarah agreed to be my general manager, her voice breaking with gratitude over the phone. "Baby girl, I've been praying for this," she said. Opening night was set for mid-November. The buzz started immediately. My New York connections shared posts, food critics requested reservations, and Detroit's food scene was hungry for something new. Then, for days before we opened, DeAndre walked into my apartment. I'd been careless, left plans on my kitchen counter when Mama stopped by earlier. "So this is what you've been doing," he said, waving the documents. "Trying to compete with your own family? That's foul, Simi." I didn't respond. What could I say that he'd understand? He pulled out his phone. "Mama's gonna be real disappointed. You know that, right? Real disappointed." He left and I knew exactly what was coming. Within 27 hours, my ingredient suppliers started canceling contracts. Mama's friends owned half the distribution companies in Detroit. My social media accounts got flooded with fake reviews calling me a traitor and greedy. The local news ran a story about family restaurant drama, painting me as the villain. Someone even called the health inspector 3 times in 18 hours, hoping to delay my opening. But what broke me wasn't the sabotage. It was Mama showing up at Simi's Table the night before opening, tears in her eyes, asking me how I could do this to my brother. "After everything we did for you," she said, "this is how you repay us." I didn't sleep that night. I sat in Simi's Table dining room at 3:45 a.m., surrounded by boxes and prep work, questioning everything. Maybe I was selfish. Maybe family should matter more than pride. Maybe I should have just stayed in my lane. That's when Miss Sarah arrived, let herself in with the key I'd given her, and sat down across from me. She didn't say anything at first, just placed a worn photo on the table. It was Big Mama, my grandmother, standing in front of the original restaurant in '73, wearing a white apron and the biggest smile I'd ever seen. "Your Big Mama gave me this picture 48 years ago," Miss Sarah said quietly. "You know what she told me?" She said, "Baby, legacy ain't about your last name. It's about excellence and respect. You build something excellent, you treat people with respect, that's legacy." She tapped the photo. "Your mama forgot that. But you didn't." Something clicked. I wasn't betraying Big Mama's legacy by leaving. I was honoring it by refusing to watch it get destroyed. I wasn't selfish for wanting recognition. I was standing up for every person who'd ever been told they were too much, or not enough, by people who couldn't see their value. We opened on schedule. The line wrapped around the block. Detroit Free Press gave us 4 stars in the first week. By January, we were booked 6 weeks out. Bon Appetit called us the most exciting new restaurant in the Midwest. In March, when the Detroit Food and Wine Festival announced nominations, Simi's Table was up for 5 awards. Big Mama Crawford's Kitchen wasn't mentioned once. The award ceremony was at the Fillmore. My entire staff came, my chosen family, the people who'd believed in my vision. When they announced Best New Restaurant and Chef of the Year, I walked to that stage feeling lighter than I had in 33 years. During my speech, I thanked Miss Sarah, my team, and Big Mama for teaching me that legacy isn't about bloodlines, it's about excellence. I saw Mama and DeAndre standing in the back. Mama's face was wet with tears. DeAndre looked smaller somehow, defeated. After the ceremony, Mama approached me in the lobby. "Simone, baby, I'm sorry. I was wrong. We need you. Can you come back and help your brother?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time I didn't feel anger or resentment. Just peace. "Mama, I love you. But I don't need your validation anymore. I built Simi's table for me." I hugged her, brief and final, then walked back to my team. We had our own celebration planned at the restaurant. As I drove through Detroit that night, city lights reflecting off the Renaissance Center, I thought about that morning in Big Mama's kitchen when DeAndre had told me to run the fryers. I'd felt my ancestors screaming then. Now I felt them smiling. The next morning, I opened Simi's table at 5:30 for Sunday brunch prep, wearing Big Mama's old apron that I'd quietly taken from the family restaurant months ago. The kitchen smelled like butter and possibility. My phone buzzed. A text from a James Beard Foundation coordinator about a nomination. I smiled, set the phone down, and got to work. This was my legacy now, and it was just beginning. If this story made you stop and think, go ahead and subscribe, and leave a comment telling me where you're locked in from. I read them all because I want to know you're there. Your comment might be the lifeline for someone else who thinks they're the only one going through it. We're all just trying to make it through. And sharing our truth is how we ensure no one gets left behind. Stay sharp, listen to your gut, and never forget that the choices you make today define your tomorrow. You feel me on that?